Good morning and welcome to the Namaste Center. It's the last Sunday of the infamous monumental year 2012, which is hard to believe. We all survived, we made it through, and unscathed. I don't see anyone with any bruises or injuries, so it's all good. And certainly it's been an unbelievable year. I was watching on television this morning some of the events of the year, and if you don't think that much happened this year, my gosh, there has been so many things. You know, it started off with that cruise ship, remember last year, that tipped over? That was crazy. And then it was followed by, Whitney Houston died, Andy Griffith died,
Donna Summer died.
Donna Summer died. We had, of course, a couple of unfortunate, tragic mass killings. It was just crazy, and a lot of good things. We survived the big event, 12/21, and I really feel the difference in the energy. I really do feel and sense that we have transitioned from a place of fear to love, and it really doesn't matter what the world is doing. It matters what we're doing and how we're perceiving it and how we're experiencing it. Because that's really the message of A Course in Miracles, is really as I mentioned last week, the end of the world is not its destruction, but rather its translation into heaven. And that's really the true, I think, new world, is when we really see and experience the world with new eyes, the eyes of love, non-judgment, compassion, understanding. And that even goes for our brothers and sisters in Washington, who seem to be keeping us on edge till they, you know, what's going to happen with this fiscal cliff. You know, it's another scenario that they're just making us wait till that last minute. But regardless of what that outcome is or is not, looks like it is not, that it doesn't really have to affect our well-being and our peace. It can certainly have an effect on our day-to-day living, and that's, you know, goes without saying. I mean, if the finances change drastically or whatever, the economy tumbles, whatever may happen, certainly that will affect how we spend, how we may live, and things like that. But the good news is that it does not have to affect our peace and well-being. And what we need to do is just recognize that we are in the world, we're not of the world, that I can step back, take a deep breath, and see the perfection in everything, and not get caught up in the fray. Rather just be a master and just observe without judgment. And that's what I believe Jesus came to teach, and other masters. You know, I always, if you think about it, life is just perception. And our experience is how we choose to see everything. It's not the experience that's upsetting us, rather, but it's how we relate to it. And there's people in dire circumstances, what we would judge as being dire circumstances, physical conditions, financial situations, and they manage to be extremely peaceful, happy, because they have a strong sense of self. They see themselves as whole and complete. They don't need external conditions to be different for them to find that sense of peace. So really, peace is a choice. So as we move into the new year, it's really time for us to make that decision to continue to spiral towards heaven, to awaken and rise above our fears and our judgments and our limitations. And I know each and every one of you all are doing that already, so I'm preaching to the choir, as they say, but you know, we're still here, so I guess we haven't completed our work yet, but we're getting there. And it's great to have you guys in the family here, the Namaste family, that we can all support and work together. You know, there's last year, I think it was about last year, maybe 2 years ago, I can't even remember, but there was a, as I talk, I watch the History Channel a lot, and they have all this nonsense on there. You know, Pawn Stars, of course, is one, but I love that show. But all of that wasn't where I was going. But the History Channel, they also had this documentary where they had experts from the financial world and the government consultants and all these experts came together, and they talked about, the future of our world. And they actually called the show The Prophets of Gloom and Doom. And, and the show, it was just daunting. I mean, why do I watch these things? And I really just, I do observe. I don't get upset, but I was like, wow, that's amazing. What a different perspective that these guys have than what we have here, because we know there's another way of seeing the world. But their prophets, their predictions were, total financial collapse. There was a guy talking about the weather, and forget that. I mean, devastation with earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes and all these things, and then the government breakdown and all, and so they did. They called it the prophets of gloom and doom. So as I was thinking about that, I said, that's so foreign to me, to my world now, because I have another way of seeing the world. And there's a line in the Course, there is another way of looking at the world. And we have a choice every moment to see the world through the eyes of fear or love, darkness or light. And so I got into that, and I was talking to my ministerial class, the last one, and I said, actually 2 ministerial classes ago, we were sharing this, and I talked about, I was sharing that with them, and I mentioned I'd rather see us being prophets of possibility. And that's what I choose. That's the mindset I choose to stay in, is what's possible. Because as I think Greg Braden and others have really come to this. The one beautiful thing about Greg and so many of the other teachings is that the merging of science and spirituality. And Greg, of course, he's on the History Channel a lot. He's always the expert that they go to about the 2012, what's happening and things like that. But when they ask him, he says, I don't know what's going to happen because we haven't created it yet. And there's so much power in that statement, because we can, just like if you go to a psychic, a good one, let's say someone who's really tuned in, what they're picking up is the energy, right now. And they can say, well, based on what I see now, this is what your future looks like. But that doesn't mean you're bound to that. And all of this gloom and doom, just because it looks as though everything's fallen apart, doesn't mean we have to be bound to that either. So it really is up to us. We're at that, turning point, that choice point in civilization, where it's up to us to make the choices that dictate a new future. And that's what I believe, the whole 2012 is all about. And of course, here we are, end of the year. That's always a time of, reflection and looking at, the things that have served us in the past year and where we choose to go in the new year. And that's why the burning bowl is so powerful. Actually, what we do is we get together and we write out what it is we choose to release, and maybe what hasn't served us this past year. So you give it some contemplation and some thought, and you write it out, and I choose to release this and this and this. And you're letting go of that attribute or that trait that no longer serves you. And then at the end, you burn it. You have a little ceremony, you burn it, and then give it to Spirit. Well, then the second part of this is that your letter to God, and you write out all of the attributes and things that you'd like to manifest and bring into your life. And it may be something physical. Some people may say more money, some people may say a new car, and that's fine. But it's also, I think, characteristics of building our character, maybe a stronger connection with Spirit, and really being committed to true vision versus the sight of the gloom and doom. And so when we do this, what's so cool is you write the letter and you seal it up, you put your address on it, and then actually what I'm gonna do tomorrow night is collect all these. And at the end of this year, the end of 2013, what I'm gonna do is mail them to you. And it's amazing you know, you get this thing in the mail, you know, like December 15th, 2013, and it's amazing what really manifests and shifts in your life. It's fascinating. You know, you really, as I mentioned earlier, this past year, there's so many events that have occurred. You think that, not so much happened this year. If you really think back about it, I can promise you it's been a very active year for all of us, individually and collectively. And so it's a matter of us just taking the time to reflect and use this. They say this week between Christmas and New Year's is the week that we need to be still and quiet. And this weather certainly, you know, been quiet and still in some sense. I mean, it keeps you in the house anyways. It doesn't keep you outside on the beach or anything. But I want to go on to, I really think this is a great thing to do if you haven't done it in the past. Another great thing for the new year that you can do is begin the lessons in A Course in Miracles. And has anyone done those completely? All the lessons in A Course in Miracles. And it's great. Well, you know, it's something that I always have to laugh. My friend Lindsay, she says, you know, every New Year she pulls out her course book and she starts them, and she says, you know, I know those first 3 lessons really well. You know, it's kind of like, and so, you know, and the beauty of the course, I think that the starting point, you know, being January 1st, it doesn't say you have to start this on January 1st. You can start it any time you want. And it doesn't say that you have to complete it in 1 year's time, but it does ask us that, you know, you read the lesson, do what it says. You don't have to perfect it. You don't have to do anything except just follow the direction that it gives you. And the purpose of this is to awaken our mind, to help us see and experience the world differently. The sequence of these lessons are actually designed and built around the idea that we have a mind full of muckety-muck and fear, and that by the end of it, that a lot of that is peeled away. And it's not something you do just once. I know people, I've done them many times. I intend to do them again this year. But it's every time you do it, it's different. It's like, wow, you really see how much you've grown, because wow, I got a whole different and new meaning from this year. So if it's something that you really want to try, you know, to attempt, go for it, because I think it's valuable and would be really helpful. You know, I was looking, I saw a great quote just this morning. And it's just exactly what A Course in Miracles says, and this comes from Star Wars, the Master Yoda. And his quote, he says, "You must unlearn what you have learned." Yeah. And that, you know, right there, and he also is the one who said, "Don't try, do." You know, how often have we heard that? Yeah. "Well, I'll try to do that." No, don't try to do that. Can you try to move this, or are you going to move the flower? And so, but the whole thing, we must unlearn what we have learned. That's the key to awakening, really, because we're so tainted and bombarded with false programming, external programming. So we're sitting here and we're being led and guided and programmed by, you know, as soon as we you know, enter this earth. We have the programming of our parents, and we have the programmings of many churches, and we have programmings of teachers and schools, and not to mention the media, and it goes on and on and on. And all of these things that we've learned have not done anything to enhance our spiritual life and our knowing who we are. Because the more externally driven we are, the more less in tune we are with our true nature, which is our spiritual essence, which is changeless, formless, and eternal. And, you know, back to the miracle principles, that's in chapter 1, the 50 miracle principles. The first miracle principle says there is no order of difficulty in miracles, and it says, meaning one is not harder or more difficult than any other. And I give you a great example of this. Back in the 90s, when I was in Florida, I used to work a lot in the HIV/AIDS community. And we worked with men, women, and children who were affected by AIDS. There were a lot of children that were born with the virus, but thank God they actually were able, many of them healed. Some did die, but many did heal. But I went to a lot of symposiums and lectures to learn more about this. And they said that actually when AIDS was first, HIV and AIDS first came into being, that it wasn't a terminal sentence. Actually, they treated it like just a virus. Any other virus, they treated it, I think, with antibiotics. People healed and moved on. But what happened is, this is just the power of fear. All of a sudden, someone grabbed hold of it and started, putting all this fear upon it, and that fear created a terminal sentence for millions of people. And so it doesn't, we need to reverse that, because either we believe this stuff or we don't. And nothing, the more we identify with the fear, it just grows. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's up to us to step back and get our self-identity straight, which is the essence of who we are, which is spirit, which is God, which is changeless, formless, and eternal, and not affected by anything outside of ourself. So nothing out here has to affect me unless I let it. And have you all ever heard that about the HIV and AIDS?
Never.
Yes.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah, that was really an eye-opener for me. And also, I am grateful that in this country I have a good friend on Facebook who is, I met him 20 years ago, and he was diagnosed, and now he is as vibrant and healthy as you could ever be. Of course, this guy is so spiritually tuned in. He has kept a great attitude about everything, and so it really is, our mind is so powerful. And we can feed the fear, and we can go down, we look at that spiral. Is this thought, is this feeling taking me to heaven or hell? And hell is really when we just focus on the gloom and doom and the fear. So it is a choice that we make in every moment. So if you make no other resolution than the one to focus more on the light instead of the dark, you're moving in a great direction. And it's up to us at this choice point to really decide, where we're going. What kind of world do we want to create? And it starts with us, it's let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. I mean, that right there is so profound and powerful and so true, that we don't have to look at all the gloom and doom and the mass destruction of the world, and it's just, as they say, going to hell in a handbasket. We can attach our emotions and thoughts to that, or we can just, make our little space peaceful and happy and joyful. And that's the greatest gift that we can offer to the world, because, we can try to convince and change other people's minds and fix what looks like it's not fixable, but that doesn't work. We've tried that already. And I think it's time for us to create an intervention from spirit, that if we can just be that presence of love and power, this whole new world that we are emerging into or have emerged into, that we build a world based on love. And the greatest gift is each of us taking responsibility for what our place in this new world. And it's a great honor to be here at this time. I really feel like this has been, I always look at planet Earth being a classroom or a big laboratory. And we've experienced all these amazing things, good and bad. We've got the light and the dark. But we've played enough, I think, in the dark to know that, well, you know what, been there, done that, enough pain, gloom and doom, let's move into some light and some fun. And the first thing that we need to do too is be joyful, have fun. I think that's the greatest gift. The Dalai Lama, he's always giggling. His face is happy. Don't you just notice that he has a happy face? And there's there's something about him that is so attractive energetically because he is happy and he's just got that little giggle. Eckhart Tolle. I mean, you know, they say in the middle of a lecture, he just stops and giggles, and he just makes me laugh. You know, he'll sit there and he'll be very deep and profound, and then he'll look up and he looks right into the camera, and then he'll start giggling, and it's like, but he's got it. You know, he's got that little impish grin that makes you realize it's not that serious. We take things way. What's that?
He has a funny giggle too.
He does have a funny giggle. I swear, I think he's a walk-in. That's another story. I think that, you know, he's not of this earth. He really isn't, and that's a good thing. I think that we need. Yeah, so he's brought in a lighter energy for sure. When you start into the lessons, I always love this. The first lesson, who knows what that is?
What you see is not real?
Sorta.
Nothing I see is real.
Sorta. Nothing in this room means anything. And but that was close. We'll give you a star for that. And but nothing in this room means anything. And then it goes on, the next lessons, I've given all the meaning that this has for me, basically. I've given this computer all the meaning that it has. I've given this plant all the meaning that it has. And then the progression from there says, I see only the past. I see only the past in this plant. I see only the past in this computer. And so it really does build upon itself. The lessons start off pretty, you know, direct and say, well, it says, I don't know what anything including this is for. You know, we think we know what everything is for. We think we're know-it-alls. But to be really led by Spirit means that I'm willing to surrender my thoughts and ideas about everything. And what happens is when we do that, the synchronicity of life just flows. It's amazing how life is here to support us when we're in a good mindset. And when we're in that flow, we're joyful. When we're joyful, people want to be around us. When you're constantly complaining, people tend to walk the other way. You ever notice that? Yeah, okay. And so it's more fun to be with people who are happy. And when people, it was like when I was learning to play golf, it was always advised, make sure you play with someone who's a little better than you, because it always inspires you to do a little better, to be a little better. So when you're around people, you want to be around people in situations that lift you up. And it doesn't mean that you make wrong or blame and deny the others, but you certainly have compassion and love for everybody. But on the other hand, we need to really surround ourselves with energies that support and lift us rather than tear us down. Because then, when we get ourselves in that vibe, we can be of service to the people who are not yet there. So people are the greatest gift we can offer to the world, in other words, is the gift of being the light. You are the light of the world. Another great lesson from the Course, it actually says, I am the light of the world, and so are you. And when we come from that premise and that knowing that that's who we are, then everybody is lifted by that knowing. Who we are speaks louder than anything we can say or do. You know, there was someone on television last night, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. A spiritual person. I was like, that really, I was curious to see the message, and it just seems, it was positive and it was a nice message. But on the other hand, I was like, that is, to me, and I'm not saying that I'm so spiritually evolved, but I'm like, wow, you know, I have come such a long way in my beliefs to where that doesn't make sense to me anymore. Mm-hmm. That old paradigm of spirituality and religion just does not get it anymore. There is no evil in the world in my eyes anymore. There's no one exempt or anybody who's wrong in my judgment anymore. You know, it's not like that the people who do this are bad and left, you know, out of my little group here. Now, granted, I've certainly got, I'm not claiming that I don't have my moments of judgment and like, but on the other hand, it's like, wow, you know, I know better than this. It's great to know that we're all one, and that I can welcome everyone into my home and into my heart, and that's a great place to be. And I really attribute that to the Course in Miracles. I know I say the Course, it's crazy, you know, but it really, to me, has blended and integrated and made sense of everything that I've been seeking and looking for. So when you really get down to it, the very introduction of the Course, in the introduction, the last sentence says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So nothing real can be threatened, okay? That means that who I am is not this meat bag, as my friend Jean calls it. Who I am is light. And nothing real, my light can't be threatened. And then it goes on to say nothing unreal exists. That means all there is light. There really is no duality in truth. In the illusion there's duality, there's light and dark. But in truth it's all light. The only thing that makes something appear to be dark is our judgment about it. So nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And peace is a wonderful gift that came to me from the Course in Miracles. And as I always say, although I don't follow it all the time, every time I choose to plug into it, I always find peace. And when I get caught up in my stuff, I don't attach myself to it anymore. I recognize, boy, you're being a brat today. Step back, make another choice, and that's the miracle, and I get back into that peaceful, loving space. So it's been a blessing and a gift in my life. So I'd like to, before we do the meditation, I would like to give an opportunity for everybody to share what their vision for either yourself individually or for the world is. In 2013, what would you all like to see? What's your vision?
An end to war.
An end to war. Mm-hmm. And the Course in Miracles says war is insanity. That is not in the mind of God. Absolutely. Do you believe it's possible?
Yes.
Good. And me too. I support you in that vision.
An end to hate.
Mm-hmm.
Because hate creates war.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
An equitable distribution of wealth.
Amen.
Yeah, exactly. These things are happening.
Yes, they are.
For everybody to be just friends.
Yeah.
Just start out with friends.
Yeah. Why
That
can't
will
we
change
just...
things.
Exactly.
And everyone doing what they love to do and are good at.
Mm-hmm. That's great, yeah.
And in that vein, children encouraged to channel themselves along their natural means instead of being pigeonholed in little boxes like they are now. I see education having a giant turnaround where children are sent where they're best. You know, instead of every kid has to be perfect in everything.
Yes.
I see the pressure being taken off our children.
Right, exactly.
And I see our children feeling safe so that they can expand and enjoy their childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
World ruled by light and love and an end to fear.
love it, yes.
I had a hopeful moment yesterday. I took my grandkids to a movie, Guilt Trip, which is hilarious, by the way.
Oh, I want to see that,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really funny. But anyway, you know, they now have television commercials and all these things that run before the movie actually starts. But there were several little film clips, and there's a foundation. I can't remember the name of it.
Foundation for a Better Life.
Foundation for a Better Life. Have you seen these things?
Yes, they're wonderful.
I had never seen them before. The one about a little boy in a wheelchair
Mm-hmm.
that gets put on the go-kart or whatever to do the race, and just all about be grateful, be loving, be compassionate. It just made me feel so wonderful. I don't go to a lot of movies, so I've not seen them before, but But this is a fairly new thing, I think.
It is, and it's wonderful.
It really is.
And that one made me cry, the little boy on
The little boy,
Yeah,
because the
so-
kid was going, I'm gonna win this race no matter what.
Uh-huh.
And then this boy was pushed up in a wheelchair, and he looked at it, I'm gonna cry. He looked at him, he got off of his go-kart, he picked up this crippled boy and strapped him in and set him down the hill. And then the end of it, he's pushing the child in the wheelchair. They became friends. And he says in this thing, he said, I don't remember who won the race, but I remember that I've never felt better.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful thing and an important thing.
Yes, it is. It's, yeah, so things are shifting.
Yes, I felt that's exactly my thought. But look at this.
Yeah, there you go.
Hallelujah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Nancy.
There's been a resurgence of kindness movement as a response to the shootings in Newtown, Connecticut. Ann Curry, the correspondent, tweeted, you know, why doesn't everybody perform 26 acts of kindness in honor of the people who were killed? And it's become an international movement. And I saw just this morning before I came, Sunday Morning did a little story about a young boy, Jaden Lamb, who died this year from cancer at the age of 9. And his parents were in the drive-through at Starbucks a couple days after he died, and they bought the order for the people behind them in his honor and posted it on Facebook. And it's also become an international movement. People all over the world are posting on Facebook acts of kindness they're doing in memory of this boy who was really, I think, probably an awakened soul because of the way he was at 9 and the things he said before he left that really blew people away.
Like he said, his last sentence was, I'm fine, something to that effect, because God needs me more.
He said he wasn't going to get, he was never going to get married.
Married,
and his
yeah.
father said, why do you say that? And he
Yeah.
said, because God needs me more. And that was his last sentence.
Wow.
And then the parents just recently went to dinner, and they got their check, and it said 0 in memory of his son. And it was like full circle. I mean, really.
Right, it's
If
amazing.
we would just give that gift of recognizing the light and the love in each one of us, how
Right.
powerful our world would be
Well,
and can be.
it
I mean,
is.
It
Well,
can start right here, right now.
That's right, absolutely. It's already a movement. It's happening. So, but this is. Go ahead, Shonda Lee.
Yeah, I wanted to reinforce what Carol said about following our passion, because that's what's going to bring us joy. And when we're in joy, we transform. So, yeah, the passion is very powerful.
And the energy of passion and the energy of gratitude. And, you know, it's, if we could stand, you know, I think a gratitude list is so important. You know, when we go, get up in the morning, write out, you know, we have so much to be grateful for. And that energy just attracts more to be grateful for. And how much time do we spend focusing on everything that's wrong in our life? You know, it's just that shift in perception there again. Carol?
Sam's has a magazine. You just have to sign up for Sam's Club. And it's on health. And the focus on the January one was on gratitude. And they said if you want to be healthy, you need to be grateful. And they had Oprah and Deepak Chopra on the cover. And they said the one most important thing that you need to do is keep a gratitude journal and just write every day the 5 things that you're grateful for. And they said it would just change your life.
Right. It will. Yeah, I'm going to do that again. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Susan?
I'd like to share something personal to me. I've always, before this last school shooting in Connecticut, I've always, when I hear of a bad guy or bad girl who's hurt people, I really hated them. you know, hated them and would send out like, you know, you need to die, you need to pay. But for some reason, and I think that it has to do with the turning of the ages and the shift and all that. And, you know, I've been a truth student a long time, like 40 years. But this was, oh heck yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. But this was the very first news story ever in my life that I didn't, now it's been lessening as I've become more and more closer to God, it has lessened. You know, I mean, I haven't really been hammer and tong wanting to kill people for what they've done in the last 10 years maybe. But this time, I wasn't even able to make myself hate the young man who did this. Not at all. And for me, that's just amazing because I have just gone from full tilt hatred for a misdoer to absolutely unable to feel anything but love. And when I've prayed for the whole situation and the parents and the children and everybody, I've prayed for him and his mother as well. And you know, I've always wanted to be like that. And I've been creeping up on it, but it just hit me all at once. Boom, I heard this news story and I did not go there. So if there's hope for me getting rid of that big judgment that I felt was so justified, then there's hope for the whole world.
Because that's insanity, you know?
Yeah.
And that's keeping
Yeah, more of it.
separation.
You
and
want more of this? Okay,
Yeah.
just send that out.
People are running out in droves buying guns.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
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 Yes.
Amazing.
I had a hard time with the belief that there are no accidents. Now, I really had to deal with that. And I did, and I said, that is my belief system. So now when you take what happened in Connecticut, and if all those people died, and if it wasn't an accident, then somebody had to do it. Now, this person, who knows, could be crazy, could be evil, or whatever, but on the other hand, if there are no accidents, then maybe it was supposed to happen. And if it was supposed to happen, I guess somebody had to do it. So why we can't judge him because maybe he's an angel in disguise. I mean, we don't even know who he is, and it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that if there are no accidents, and this has helped me so much in my life because I, like the rest of you, have had horrific things happen to my family and my life, and I thought, but if I can grasp that there are no accidents, then it says, okay, what is the lesson that I need to learn? What does this really mean? And it's okay because there are no